Alright, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Butterscotch Rewatch. I'm Ireland, the Gen Z daughter.
And I'm Katie, the Gen X mom. And today we're going to be talking about the movie Boondock Saints, which was made in 1999, stars Sean Patrick Flanery, Norman Reedus, and Willem Dafoe. We're going to try something different this time. We're going to do a new structure, see how you guys like it. We're going to have some categories at the end of the movie, and we're just trying something different to see if you guys like it or not.
A little bit.
So I'm going to start by going over the different characters, and then we're going to go for an overview of the movie, just so you all kind of get an idea for what kind of characters we're dealing with here. So we have two twin brothers that are Irish brothers. This is taking place in South Boston. It's Connor and Murphy McManus. Connor is played by Sean Patrick Flanery, and Murphy McManus is played by Norman Reedus. And so they're these two twins, and they go to church every Sunday. They live in like this abandoned building that looks like it might have been a school.
Like they're not really supposed to be there.
Yeah, I think it's abandoned. And it looks like they're living in the locker room of like a school. It's weird because it has like the showers lined up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Their beds are just mattresses on the floor. It's really like very
There's just
simple.
like a toilet in the corner.
It's gross. Just not somewhere you would bring the ladies home to.
Yeah, it's fine.
They work, in the beginning, they work at a meat packing plant. That's how they're making their money. And it looks like all they buy is liquor and cigarettes. But they do like to go to church every Sunday. Every Sunday they're at church. They're very religious. So that's
no matter what kind of trouble they're in or what situation they're in, they're always stopping by a church on Sunday morning.
Yes. They wear these big crosses that are like huge, made out of wood.
Yeah, their rosary or whatever it is. Yeah.
We also have a character called Agent Paul Smecker. He is played by Willem Dafoe, and he is one of the best characters ever written, as far as I'm concerned.
Just in movies in general. Not even just in the movie. Like, I'm just saying, like, over in general.
So the agent he works for the FBI, and he specializes in the organized crime unit, and he dresses very, very well in like three-piece suits. He's very smart, and they kind of play with his sexuality in this movie. They don't really admit that he's gay. However, they hint to it very strongly that this character is a gay character. And we'll kind of hit some of those points for that. We also have Rocco. His name is David Della Rocco. He is a package boy and numbers runner for the Yakavetta Italian mob, and he is best friends with the brothers, and he's also known as the funny man. Of course, the mob does not take him serious. He's like 36, and he's been in the mob since he's been like 16.
Yeah, I said since high school.
Yeah, and I think he wants to become like a made man, but they're just not taking him serious at all, and it's been years and years and years. And he really, really hates this one character called Vincenzo, which we'll go over as well. That's the one guy he has a real big beef with and just absolutely hates him.
I also hate Vincenzo, so.
Me too. I agree with that. He's a terrible person.
Yeah, he's not great.
There are a couple minor characters that we're going to run into. We're going to run into Detective Greenlee. He's going to have a really good rapport with Agent Smecker, which, again, we'll go through that again. He's just a detective for the Boston PD. We have Papa Joe, who is the head of the Yakavetta family. And then Il Duce. Is that how they say it? Il Duce?
Yeah.
Il Duce? Which means it means the Duke. And he is a feared contract killer, and he's someone you only call if you're desperate. Yeah. And again, get into that as well. So that's kind of like your list of characters that we're going to be looking out for as we explain the movie. So the premise of the movie takes place in South Boston. It cuts to the brothers in the very beginning where they're at the church. They just kind of, while the priest is giving his sermon, they just kind of go past the priest up to the big statue of Jesus. They do their prayers, and everyone's like just ignoring it. It's totally normal. So I guess that's their thing, that they could just, and then they leave. Nobody like looks at them or says anything. If somebody tries to say something, they're like, no, sit down. Shh, don't say anything. So they're very special, I think, in this community. And they're definitely Irish brothers. So they fight a lot, but they are very protective of each other. It's one of those, you can, I can call my brother names and punch him, but you can't. Yeah. And the way that this movie is shot is it's going to go, each action scene is shown as the aftermath when the police get there. And then it's told through Agent Smecker's theory, and then it shows what actually happens as he's kind of telling his theory. So it's shot pretty cool. Yeah. So we want to kind of start it off and...
Yeah. I was just going to say, that's one of my favorite things. I feel like I get, like, the chills when I'm watching, you know, as Willem Dafoe was, like, talking through it, and then they're showing what actually happened. It's so super cool. So one of the first, besides, like, the kind of, like, introduction, we kind of see, like, the two brothers, of course, like, in their, like, own place of where they live, like what we were talking about before, the meat locker, or the sweat locker, kind of. But we just kind of see them after church, and, like, it's just kind of going scene by scene, like, that they're working at this meat factory, and they're just kind of, like, you could tell that they all just love messing around in the meat factory, and all of their friends are working there and all this stuff, and then eventually they get fired from the meat factory. So after they get fired from the meat factory, they go to a bar that they consistently go to. You can just tell that everybody around them is, like, close friends with them, as well as the person behind the bar, who we can assume is the owner of the bar, and they're all just drinking, having a good time on St. Patrick's Day. And basically the bartender's like, okay, sorry guys, like, I'm gonna have to close the bar. The new owner of the building is forcing me to close the bar and not receiving any money for my rent and everything like that. So obviously that causes a huge uproar. You can just tell that it's just, like, the cutest little old guy. Like, he can't control sometimes what he's saying, and it's just like, he has tics or something like that.
He has Tourette's.
Yeah, Tourette's. Yes. Yeah, he has Tourette's, so he's just, like, in normal conversation, he's like, God fucking damn it, like, the boys are obviously all just like, no, that's absolutely crazy, like, you can't close the bar, and then in comes walking in some counterparts of the Russian mafia, or Russian mob.
Yes. Yeah, so they come in, it's St. Patty's Day, of course. Everybody is completely hammered, and they say, you know, hi, I'm Ivan, and these are my two buddies, whatever, we're from the Russian mafia, and we're closing today. Because the bartender had said, well, we have a week, and then I have to close because they're not renewing my lease. They're buying up all the buildings. So, yeah. So he's like, we're closing now, so everybody get out. The bartenders stay, but everybody else get out. And, of course, the brothers,
Take that very well.
They have to cause some problems. So they speak Russian, and they basically tell the guys that, like, you know, hey, it's St. Patty's Day. Let's not close today. They got a week, you know, and they're basically like, you know, fuck you, we're closing it today. They got you know, ready for some fighting. And I believe it's Murphy who says, you know, that's not cool, because I think they push Connor, and then Murphy's like, that's not cool, man, like, hey, it's St. Patty's Day, and he says it like in Russian. And then that's all we see, and then it cuts to an alleyway where we see two men, big men, laying in an alley face down. One has a bandage on his head, the other one has a bandage on his rear end. And this is when we see Agent Greenlee, or Detective Greenlee, I should say, sorry. Detective Greenlee is one of my favorite, like, side characters, because he's trying to give his theory. What kind of theory is he giving?
Yeah, he's really just pulling stuff out of thin air. Like, you can tell, like, the gears are turning, but, like, no one's home. Like, he's really trying so hard. And what's funnier about this scene is that there's just the two, like, agents with him, or the two, like, other, like, I don't know what they're called, like,
they're detectives,
detectives, yeah, or whatever. And, like, Greenlee's like, well, just by looking at, you know, these guys are just stumbling home from the bar, and then there's just this big guy waiting for them in the alley, and it's wrong place at the wrong time, and then they just get beat up, and basically the other detectives are not writing anything down. They're like, I don't know what's going on here. And this is where we have the amazing entrance of Agent Paul Smecker. So we kind of steer away from Greenlee. We're showing Willem Dafoe come out of the car, and he's getting escorted by one of the sergeants on the case. And like we noted, or like what we talked about before, is that Agent Paul Smecker is from the FBI, because it's that organized crime now that's been brought into it, because it's more, because it's more international, right? Because now we're involving...
The bodies were identified as two members of the Russian mafia.
Right.
So that's why he's brought in.
Yeah, so basically, Paul Smecker is like, hold my freaking beer. Because he is initially coming in guns a-blazing, already making fun of Greenlee, because Greenlee is just like, this big guy was just waiting for them, you know, and it sounds ridiculous. And Smecker's like, all right, he's gonna start assessing the scene now on his own, and they just kind of let him do the work. When he first starts, he kind of is like crouching down, he's like setting up his little, you know, Walkman. Yeah, what is it?
It's a Discman. Because it played, instead of playing, so the Walkman played cassette tapes, and the Discman played CDs. So that's what he puts in. He puts his little earbuds.
All right, sorry, forgive me for being born in 2000.
How dare you?
I know.
What, you didn't have a Discman growing up?
No, we had VHS tapes, but we did not have a Discman. No, so he plays his little Discman, and then he puts on his little gloves, and basically you could just hear this beautiful classical music playing, and he is in the zone. Like, he can just, like, feel what happened in real time, which is very...
Yeah. So as he was listening to Greenlee's explanation of basically a big guy and a serial crusher is what he said, because he said the one guy was crushed to death.
Yeah, serial crusher.
Because he has like a footprint on his back. And so after Smecker assesses the area, he looks and he points, and then he takes his headphones out and he's like, okay, so you should look for a bullet in the dumpster. You look for a bullet down there, get ballistics in here. There should be a bullet in the wall down the way. You look for casings.
Yeah, you should find 2 casings left over.
Yeah.
Find parts of a sink, like all of these different things.
Yeah, and so Greenlee's basically like, you know, who the fuck are you? And he goes like this with his FBI, and he's like, that's who the fuck I am. And he's like, oh, shit. Because, you know, once the FBI comes in, they gotta back up.
The one guy I didn't want to piss off.
And he's like, I love your theory of the serial crusher. However, it's wrong. So why don't you make yourself useful and go get me a coffee? And he's like, what? Like, huh? And he's like, cafe latte, twist a lemon, sweet low. He sounds like that. He looks at like the guys, and he just like goes to get the coffee.
Yeah, the other guys are like, sorry, bud, we're not helping you. You dug your own grave.
Yeah. And he mentions that, you know, let's see if anyone in the building has had any like complaint of water in the last, you know, 24 hours. And one of the policemen comes back and says, yes, the 4th floor. So he says, all right, we're going to the 5th floor, boys.
We're going to the 5th.
So, yeah. So they head up to the 5th floor, and of course Greenlee's like, oh, this isn't gonna pan out to anything. Of course, Agent Smecker is like, I might want a bagel today with my coffee. And they go and they look into, this is where the guys' apartment is, the brother's apartment, and they just look, they don't show what it is, but you could just assume, you know,
it looks like a crime scene.
Yeah, crime scene. So they're like, So then we're cutting back to the police station. They're at the Agent Smecker is talking to everybody, saying the press got a hold of it. He's pissed off because he's like, I do not want these guys being made into heroes. This is ridiculous. Whoever did this, he's pissed. He's like throwing a big bitch fit. Greenlee says, don't worry. These guys are long gone. There is no way in hell if they see anybody in a like police uniform, they're running the other way. And then what happens, Ireland?
And guess who shows up in just their robes? The 2 brothers in the police station. So, and after that, oh my god, Smecker literally looks over at Greenlee and is like, I'll take the onion bagel, please. Basically, like, you're an idiot. And you could just see in Greenlee's face that he's just like, my god, can I catch a break? Plot twist, he never catches a break. And so Smecker has the 2 brothers in just like a little confession room, and basically is just treating them just like plain normal. I mean, they just showed up just straight in their robes, so obviously he knows that these are the guys. And they have like coffee, they have bagels, he offers them cigarettes and stuff like that, so it's just a casual conversation. So Smecker's literally just like, okay, this, you know, you're not under oath, so you can say what you want to say, but the conversation is being recorded. And even before they record anything, the brothers are speaking in a different language. I don't know exactly what language the first one that they speak.
It's Gaelic.
It's Gaelic, yeah. Because they're Irish. But then Smecker kind of is like, you speak different languages, and then they kind of start showing off, because then they start speaking in, like, French, and because he's like, oh, do you know French? And then they start speaking French, and then it moves into Italian, then it moves into Russian, then it moves into Spanish. Like, they are well-versed, and just very knowledgeable. And they just say it's because their mom kind of forced them to, and their mom said that it was a good idea. But they talk about what happened that night, and we just see a flashback cut to them getting into the bar fight with the Russian, or the two big Russian guys that came into the bar that night. Murphy's breaking bottles over a guy's head. Connor is, doing his thing where he has the bigger guy kind of tied on the bar, and then he's the one with the poor rear end cast because he just pours liquor on his butt, sets it on fire, and he's just watching this man's butt burn. So that's where the head bandage came from, is that the two broken bottles over that guy, and then obviously the butt bandages here. And then the next morning it just cuts to the two brothers just waking up in their apartment or whatever they're in, and they're just in their robes because they just woke up, and in just walks in the two members of the Russian mafia. So in order to take into effect, obviously they were pissed off, they're planning on killing them. They handcuff Connor to the toilet first so he can't defend anything. So he's just like, his arms are handcuffed around the toilet, and then they take Murphy down and they're just putting him on his knees, pointing the gun to him, has a silencer on the gun and everything, and planning on just shooting him. And Connor, watching this scene is so crazy to me because he just like gets superhuman strength, and it's adrenaline too, of course. But he like pulls up the toilet, and not only is he pulling up the toilet out of like the plumbing and everything like that in the apartment, but then he's carrying it out to the roof of the apartment building, like, because they can just walk out to like a landing on the roof, and then he drops the toilet on the guy that's about to shoot Murphy, and then also jumps off the roof because then he's gonna tackle the other guy, because why not? And they just get into it with these guys.
Yep. So that kind of explains who the two guys were, why they had the casts where they had them. It also explains why there was, I think Agent Smecker thought it was a sink or something because of the porcelain everywhere. That's why he asked if there was a leak somewhere. And we now know that it was a toilet. So when he dropped the toilet on the one guy, he jumped from the roof onto the other guy and kind of like knocked him out.
But that's where the footprint came from.
Yes, that's where the footprint came from.
Serial killer.
And of course, the guy that got hit with the toilet from like 7 stories up, it died because it hit him right in the head. And then Connor is knocked out cold because that was a big feat that he just did. Yeah. And Murphy takes the top of the toilet and he beats the other guy in the head multiple times until he is dead. And then he grabs all of their jewelry, their money, their guns, anything kind of that could identify them right away, anything of value, and puts it in a bag, like a shopping bag. And he puts his brother over his shoulder and he heads to the hospital so that his brother can get checked out. This just goes to show, like, with the whole toilet scene of Connor, because when his brother was being taken away, he was obviously like, they're so protective of each other, and he was just like, no, and that's why he had the strength to get that toilet up to save his brother.
You could just see it. They're so cute. Yeah,
they'll fight over the dumbest little thing, but the love they have for each other, it's like, they will know.
Nothing like it.
That's pretty awesome. So then after they had gone to the hospital, that's when they decided to go to the police station to let them know that it was self-defense. We didn't do this on purpose. It was self-defense. And then we cut back to them in the room with Smecker. And he's very intrigued by these two guys. Yeah, very, very intrigued. And he does not dislike them. He's kind of into them. I think he really likes these guys. They're very interesting.
He's rolling with them, honestly. And again, he doesn't charge anything, or he doesn't charge them with anything because of that self-defense. And plus, with the history that those other guys have had, I'm sure there was really no problem with them getting, And the two first, the press, of course, is out front because whoever was smart enough to bring all that to the press. So Smecker basically gives them like, hey, you're not being charged with anything. You can go ahead and have a statement if you want. And the boys are like, absolutely no. Like, I do not want to talk to anybody. But they do ask if they can stay at the station for a little bit. And like one of the policemen right next to Smecker is like, oh, like, we have an extra holding cell, like, feel free. And then he's like, oh, wait. He's like, is that okay? To Smecker. And Smecker's like, oh, well, you might have to ask your mother, but it's okay with me if your friends sleep over.
Yes.
He's just very witty and very funny.
And he does like the blank. He's like, it's okay with me if your friends want to stay over.
Literally. Yeah, he's so charismatic and amazing. And they end up getting to stay over, and then they get to shower and change clothes and everything. But who's bringing them their clothes?
So this is when we first get to see Rocco, who is the one that we described in the beginning as the like bag man for the Italian mob, the best friend of the guys. He kind of sneaks in. Smecker like holds the door for the chief to go through after he's done talking to the press. And Rocco kind of sneaks in. He's holding like clothes, and he gets a quick glimpse of him. Smecker does. And then, of course, the guys get their clothes and everything. And he's like, "Oh, you guys okay?" They're like, "Yeah, we're going to hang out here for a little, like a day or two, just to kind of like let the heat settle."
Die down.
And yeah. And so he's like, "Okay, all right, great." And this is when the boys are obviously staying, or the brothers. I'm going to call them the boys.
I know.
The brothers, they're men, but they're very attractive. So, very, very too attractive,
I love
I think.
Norman Reedus.
Yes, if you've seen The Walking Dead, he is Daryl Dixon, and this is when he's young in his like 20s, so he's even hotter.
They're both in their prime.
Son Sean Patrick Flannery is just, oh god, that man. It's a crime to be that hot.
Yeah.
Anyways, off the subject of hot men.
This is getting like the Labyrinth episode again.
I know, like having flashbacks of what I was feeling.
God.
So they're in the cell, obviously not locked up. They brought some cots in the cell for them, and they're both sleeping, and it's raining outside, and it's dripping down on their faces. And it symbolizes like a baptism or a forgiveness of sins is basically what it's doing. Is that's kind of what they're going for. And they both like wake up like this. And then Connor says, "Destroy all that which is evil." And then Murphy says, "So that which is good may flourish." And this is where they get an epiphany that God wants them to take the evil out of the world so that the good people can flourish and not have to live in fear. So this is when we get the, official Boondock Saints, I guess you want to say.
When they're born.
Yeah. So they go, and they're going to leave the police station. And of course, as soon as they go where all the policemen are, they're all like clapping for them. They're all like, "Here, we got you some coffee." Murphy's just like, talking some shit with the cops. And the pager from the Russian guy has gone off. So Connor's like, "I'm going to call this." So he calls the number, and it says that the fat man is going to arrive at a certain time. He's going to be at this hotel in this room number. And this is when Connor decides, okay, this guy's going to be our first target. This is going to be, yes. And then the policemen show Connor, or Murphy, I'm going to mix them up every single time, shows Murphy the paper that says that they've named them the Saints. So now we've got the Saints, and
so now they have the whole plan kind of set out, but they need weapons, they need ammo. So before we get into that, we also get cut to Rocco, because we know that Rocco's also is he just working with the mafia stationed in Boston? Just like these Italian mob guys, basically.
He's kind of like an intern at a job, like an unpaid intern, where he just runs and gets coffee. He comes in with a bag, and he says he's got a real special package that only he can deliver to Papa Joe, who's the name, they call him Papa Joe.
Yeah, he's like the mob boss. But it's a freaking sandwich.
It's a sandwich.
Yeah, like this, and you can just tell, like, and Vincenzo will come in a little bit later too, but Vincenzo is just treating Rocco like an asshole. And just basically like making fun of him, and is like, "Oh, you're the funny man, like that's all you're good for," and like, "Oh, are you really that funny?" And then Rocco's just sitting with Vincenzo, and they're just bickering like an old married couple. And then the Papa Joe then eventually gets off of the phone. He's had a bad day, he says, and he's like, "Hey, Rocco, they call you the funny man, tell me a joke." And then it catches Rocco off guard, and then he ends up telling the joke, and then Papa Joe's actually laughing at the joke, which Rocco was like not expecting, because he's like, "Oh, that was a bad joke, like it's fine, whatever." And then he ends up finishing it, and then but then go ahead, were you gonna say something?
It's a very, very racist joke, for one, so we're not going to repeat that.
No.
A lot of racist names are said in this, or derogatory names are said in this.
And it's like bad where it's uncomfortable to watch. Like there's some things where I like in movies I can't. Like that's the only part that was like uncomfortable. Yeah.
But who they're depicting are these like scumbag people that would say this. Yeah, that would yeah. And Vincenzo, I'm going to just say, he's played by Ron Jeremy. So you already know what this guy looks like. He is the scum, oily, gross, hairy, guy you don't want to like end up as your your Tinder date or something, because that would be you'd be like, bleh. So he's a real scuzzy. I mean, he's just exactly the kind of person he should play. It's basically playing himself. Yeah, he's a pretty scuzzy person.
Perfect.
And it's not because he was in pornos. Like, hey, you do whatever, but he is a real like shitty person in real life. And so when Rocco tells his joke, Papa Joe pauses and he has no like facial expression. So Vincenzo, of course, is like, he won't laugh until Papa Joe laughs. So as soon as Papa Joe laughs, he lets out a big, huge thing. He's like, oh, it's so funny. And then Vincenzo's like, ha ha ha. He was like, he's one of those assholes that like can't make any decision for himself. Yeah. And it has to do exactly. Ma'am. Definitely. Yeah. But just his treatment of Rocco is just terrible. And I hate it. But that's a necessary scene to kind of give the dynamic of where Rocco is or how he's considered in this family.
Yeah. And then we cut back to the boys. And I don't know if we mentioned this before, but when they murdered the 2 Russian mafia guys after they got attacked by them, they basically took all their jewelry, took all their cash on them, took obviously the pager and everything like that. So they used that money and the jewelry and the pager in order to buy what they needed in order to take care of the fat man that they got the address for. And I love this scene because they literally just lay it out all on the table, and then the guy is just like, gives them 2 duffel bags and it's just like, go nuts. Yep. And then they just like turn on the lights and there is like weapons, ammo, RPG galore. Like, it's absolutely insane in there.
Yep. And don't forget the rope. Connor grabs rope and Murphy's like, what the hell you need some rope for?
What will we ever need this rope for?
He's like, we're gonna need the rope. He goes, get your goddamn rope. Fine. So they grab the rope.
And then it's funny because Connor literally like picks up Murphy's knife that he threw in there and he's like, okay, Rambo, like, what are we gonna do with this? He's like, then just get the damn rope.
Yeah. So we're at the hotel. The brothers are in the, they got their backpacks full of the ammo. They're in the elevator and we hear the elevator ding. And then that's all we see of the brothers. And it cuts to Smecker. He is in bed with someone. He's in bed with a man, and the man is trying to cuddle with him. As he's talking on the phone, he keeps slapping. Like, poor man. And he's like, oh, and then he like tries to cuddle, and he's like, ah, and then he tries to cuddle, and he's like, when he gets off the phone, he's like, what's wrong with you? He's like, I just wanted to cuddle. And then he says something derogatory to the man because I think he's in denial that he's a gay man. But yeah, so he heads on down to this hotel room where we see, according to Greenlee, 8 dead bodies.
Poor Greenlee.
But when Smecker gets in there, it's 9 dead bodies. Yeah. And poor Greenlee says, shit, I forgot the one behind the couch. And of course, Smecker says, well, while Greenlee's out getting everybody else coffee, does anybody else want anything? So there goes Greenlee out to get the coffee.
This poor man in his career.
So as Smecker is trying to piece together what has happened, he kind of asks the opinion of the other guys and the other 2 detectives, and they just give like bogus. Like, it's just like, oh, it's all about this one guy. These other guys don't even matter. Every single guy has coins on his eyes and his hands are crossed over his chest. And, Smecker, for some reason, is walking on the back of this couch back and forth. And after they tell their theories, he like does a river dance on the couch. He jumps down and he goes, let me tell you what I think really happened. I think, because the one guy's like, what's with the coins? And he's like, it could be religious, because in some religions, they still believe that you need to put the coins so that the dead has enough money to give to the ferryman to cross to the other side. So that's what he thinks it is. And one guy goes, the one detective goes, so what's the symbology of that? And then Smecker goes, symbology. Okay, well, he goes, we got a new heir to the knucklehead throne, basically. He goes, you mean symbolism? And then he says it, symbolism. Very like, he goes, that is the word I think you're looking for. And that's when he explains the fairy, the two coins to give to the ferryman. And then so he begins explaining what he thinks happened. And this is when we cut to the brothers of what actually they did. And kind of Smecker's kind of like in the background as this is happening.
Yeah, like he's like explaining what's going on while we're actually viewing what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts off with, of course, the boys, they went up the vent from the elevator. And when they're in the vent, they finally make their way through and then get to right above where the fat man is. And obviously the whole crew is there. So right above that room. And they are... Well, they think that they're lost, but they actually are right above that room. So then they're fighting about getting lost. But then also, they're fighting about, well, I have to carry your heavy ass rope and it's like 30 pounds and I'm out of breath already. I'm sweating over here. And then they just start going at it because you could just, like, you could tell, like, one brother just, like, you know, like, flicks the other one and then it's just, like, a full on brawl. So you can just see, like, as they zoom out, it's like the little vents, like, shaking like this because they're rolling all around. And after that, they fall through the ceiling. And the way they fall through the ceiling is that their legs or their feet are stuck on the rope. And they're upside down and they are just shown almost in like a little, I don't want to say like a helicopter motion, but they're swinging around circular. And they're just like, well, we're just gonna do what we gotta do in our scenario. So then they just start shooting all the rest of them.
Yeah, they're like literally spinning and they're shooting.
It's so cool.
Because they're back to back. So they're hitting every single guy. Like every guy's getting shot and they don't shoot him. And then they show after everybody's been shot that they have the fat man. We're just calling him the fat man because that's kind of what he's the head of one of the Russian families, Russian mafia families. And he's on his knees. The boys are saying a prayer. And they have a family prayer that they say. And they both have a gun to his head. And they shoot him. And everybody gets the coins in their hands like this. And they all get the prayer. That's when we found out what actually happened. But then as they're like cleaning up, there's the doorbell of the hotel rings. Who's there?
So we don't automatically see this. One of the brothers looks into the little peephole that they have at the door and he's like, oh my god, you have to catch a look at this. And then the other brother looks in and it's freaking Rocco. But his name tag says Jafar. And he's dressed as like a bellhop. And he has like a little cart with like food on it. And the brothers are basically like, well, we have to mess with him. Like, this is just too good. So then they put their masks back on, like they have their guns out and everything like that. And they open the door and they start basically wrestling him to the ground. They're saying like, we're going to kill you. Why shouldn't we kill you? Like, what are you here for? Basically, like, it feels real, right? Rocco doesn't know that it's them. And once they kind of reveal themselves, Rocco's just like, what is even going on? Because then as soon as he gets up, he looks around and he sees that they murdered all of these guys. They're like, he's like, this like looks professional, like this is crazy. And basically when the boys were holding him down and before they even revealed themselves, they were like, what are you even doing here? And Rocco's like, I'm on the same side. Look, they gave me a gun and the gun only had 6 bullets in it. But then there were 9 guys in the room. So the brothers are like putting 2 and 2 together because Rocco's not the brightest guy in the bunch. And I think that he's just dedicated his whole life to this family for so long. I think that he is also hard for him to believe that he's disposable to them. But the brothers are absolutely livid. And they just really purely believe that they don't care about, that they obviously didn't care about Rocco because they're like, well, what the hell were you going to do when you walked in and you saw 9 bodies and you only got 6 bullets in your gun? Right. Like, they knew that you weren't going to come out of that alive. And Rocco's just kind of like, Rocco's just kind of like standing up for, the mafia. And they're like, no, like, they wouldn't do that to me. And, I've dedicated my life to this place. And the brothers are like, dude, whatever you want to believe, that's fine. But they sent you in there to freaking die.
Right. Yeah, they're also protective of Rocco too. He's like a third brother. Obviously. He's like the third. Yeah. So they're like, they sent him in here. Even if he had 9 bullets, the chances of killing each person with 1 bullet is, how many bullets did the brothers use? Like hundreds of bullets. I mean, there are bullets everywhere. And so they're just super pissed. They're like, and Rocco just blindly, allows the family to tell him what, I think this was, they were like, this is your big break, buddy. This is going to get you in. Like, here you go. They told him there were 2 people. That's it. In and out. Easy job. So they obviously lied, and he's like, well, what if it was? And there's just more showed up and he's trying to talk himself out of it. And the brothers are like, no, You were
Yeah,
set
he's
up,
like, I would
basically.
have just served them the food on the cart then. Like, no, sir, we knew that this was not how
Yeah, they would
how
have
they
checked
meant it
you.
to be.
Yeah. So the brothers tell Rocco, like, you should take the credit for this killing to your boss. Like, hey, I killed all these guys. Look what I did. I did what you told me to do. And Rocco's like, you know what? I'm going to. It's, I'm sick of being treated like shit. I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do. And so then we're at Rocco's apartment, and though everyone's drunk, and Rocco decides, okay, I'm gonna go check something out. So he calls the brothers from a payphone and he says, did anybody call for me? And they say, no, nobody called for you, and he goes, I'll catch you on the flip side. So then we see Rocco come back running into the apartment and he's like, pack it up, we gotta
Yeah,
leave, we
we
gotta
gotta
leave.
go.
And he's like throwing just everything he can into like a pillowcase and the brother's like, what's going on? And he's like, I did it. I killed him at the deli or whatever. And they're like, whoa, what happened? And then they kind of show what has happened at the deli. And that was when Rocco went in there to kind of talk to a couple of the family guys, the mob guys, and they're like, oh my God, you're alive. Vincenzo came in and was like saying, you're going to die. Everybody was laughing at it. The bartender right there was laughing at it. He knew before we knew that they were sending you there to die. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you survived. Oh, Vincenzo's going to be mad because you survived.
Yeah.
Just basically they were making fun of him. They're like, haha, that dumb went in there and got himself killed like a freaking idiot,
Yeah.
and Rocco's pissed.
And
So
and they were also saying, like, the two guys that he was talking to were like, well, we know that our place is set in the family and we're protected for life because we kept our mouths shut, and just basically like rubbing it in Rocco's face that like they're well above him in the mafia. And Rocco, this kind of put the nail in the coffin, I think, for Rocco. Like, okay, the brothers were right, these guys are assholes, what am I gonna do about it? And this is a really cool, I mean, it's not cool that he's shooting people, but it's really cool because, like, when he's having a conversation with the guy, he kind of casually, like, lifts up his jacket, like, on one side and then shoots the other guy that he's not talking to or whatever, across from the booth from him or whatever. So shoots him in the head first and then shoots the other guy. And then he basically lets everybody else run out. The other three people that were in the deli, except for the person that was the bartender behind the deli. And he's just like, oh, is it really funny? Like, I'm just the funny man, and like everybody's laughing at me. And he's just like, oh, is it funny now? And then he starts shooting him too, and he puts the most bullets in him. So you can tell it's definitely a crime of passion.
yeah, definitely personal. So that's when, of course, after that had happened, that's when Rocco's like, let's go, we gotta go. So now that Rocco knows that the brothers were correct, that they could care less about Rocco, he is pissed and he wants revenge. And he's like, look, I know where everybody lives. I know their addresses. I know their routines. Let's just go after everybody. And of course the brothers are like, yeah, we're going to take out the mob. That sounds like a great plan. Yeah. Again, everybody still thinks that Rocco was the one that killed those 9 Russian mafia guys. And he wants to start, of course, with Vincenzo, who frequents a place called the Sin Bin, which is
Yeah, you can only imagine what that is.
yeah. But it is a strip club, but it's one of those that has like the peep shows where you stick the money in the like the
Like the
slot
slot or
and
whatever.
the window opens and then the dancer will dance for you, and then after a certain amount of time the window will close and then you have to put more money in. It's kind of one of those things. So they know they go there and they're ready. And then of course it cuts to Agent Smecker with the aftermath.
Yeah. So Smecker is in this crime scene and we just see like one of the dancers crying because she was there when it happened, and Smecker is just like walking through and it's just glass everywhere because they shot through the windows, and he's just like, what is basically like what is even going on in here? Because from the read of it, he can tell just from there that there were 2 good shooters, 1 really lousy shooter. And we can only imagine who the one really lousy shooter was, because we know that the two brothers really cleaned up the other guys. So he's kind of going through and just kind of scoping it out. Like, obviously, like, this is the main guy that they were going through first because he had clean shots, and that was obviously Vincenzo. And then it kind of went rogue after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after the brothers had shot Vincenzo, they look in like the other rooms because there's peepholes to look into the rooms to see if there's someone in there. And Connor's like, oh, these two assholes, I've been trying to get them forever. These guys are scumbags, you know? And Rocco's like, let me do it. And the two guys are like exactly like right across from each other. So they're like, okay, Rocco, here you go. So he takes two guns and he like, you know, like shoots them across, and he shoots them both, and he's a terrible shot. He does end up killing the guys eventually, but he's just shooty. And then Smecker is trying to explain how gun A and gun B, gun A only went into the one, gun B only went into the other one, but then there's two shots to the wall from gun A, from gun B, 2B shots, and then where all of the gun B went to, there's two shots from gun A, and he's trying to figure out how it happens, and then he kind of walks away, and then he just goes like this. And that was the right answer, because that is what Rocco did to be like fancy. He went and crossed the guns and he shot him to be like fancy. Yeah. So he, of course, you know, had asked the guys for the theory, and they're like, oh, we don't know. Oh, I don't have my brains like fried because of that whole deli thing. And Smecker's like, deli shooting? What deli shooting? He's like, oh, it's not related. Well, who was shot? Just some like lowlifes from the Iacovetta family. And he's like, oh, nothing. Has nothing to do with it. Great. Awesome. So
Do you think it's unrelated? But they're literally all a part of the same.
So he cannot solve this yet. He's still trying to figure out now. There's another gunman. Like, what is going on? And he throws like a literal fit and screams.
Yeah, you can literally kicking and screaming, like stomping out of there.
Yeah, and he's like, I hate unsolved cases. And then he like leaves, and the other guys are like, oh shit, we probably should have told him, because they're like, not a good day for him. So so the Iacovetta family, meaning Papa Joe, decides that Rocco is insane. He's taking everybody out one by one. He's really good at what he does. And he's going to call in the Duke, which is, what is it? El Duce?
I think it's El Duce.
El Duce.
I don't know, though.
Yeah, I mean, I just know it means the Duke. And Papa Joe goes into this like restroom, and there is a man. He's like, I think he's kind of blind, but I don't think he's fully blind. I think he kind of can tell who it is. And he's cleaning he takes care of the bathroom, and he's like, what the hell do you want? And he's like, I need Il Duce. And he's like, you only call him, he is a madman, you only call him as your absolute last resort. Like, do not mess with this guy. And he's like, nope, I need him. You know, this guy Rocco is taking us out one by one, so we need to take him out. And Augustus is the name of the man. He's a retired mafia underboss, and he says, well, that's great and all, but he's been in jail for the last 25 to 30 years, so good luck on getting him out of there.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even know if he's still alive. I also don't even know if he still wants to do this or if he still can.
Yep. So then they cut to the prison, and this is where we see Il Duce, and he is like locked up like Hannibal Lecter. Almost.
Yeah, he's on like one of those carts too when they have to move him.
It's like in a cage. It's crazy.
Yeah, they put him in like a bird cage. It literally looks like a big like bird cage.
Yeah, and they're like rolling him out, and he's paroled. I wonder how that happened.
Tech paroled.
They're like, paroled. So
yeah,
he's paroled. Good for him after 25 to 30 years. They do make a big deal. Augustus does make a big deal about that Il Duce only has one rule. He doesn't shoot women or children. The target cannot be a woman or children.
Yeah.
Very, very huge rule that he sticks by. So after they had taken Vincenzo out, now Rocco's got a new target. And who's the new target?
Yeah, his new target is this hitman. And I think he's just called the Hitman. Oh my god, sorry, I just choked on air. Anyway, so we are introduced to the Hitman, and Rocco basically was just a driver for the Hitman when he was still working for the Iacovetta family. And the Hitman will kill literally everybody. He will kill an entire family in minutes, maybe seconds. And like we kind of walk through a scene where the Hitman literally just like goes upstairs, kills I'm assuming like the children first and then kills mom and then basically like cleans up the whole crime scene and then is just like, all right, the coast is clear, like this one is clean or whatever. And then goes back to Rocco, and he doesn't say a single word to Rocco ever. And Rocco is just like, this guy is a sicko. Like, we need to get rid of him. And the boys are just basically like, okay, yep, sounds good to me. And then we kind of cut to, they have a plan first. They have to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
And basically, of course, because Rocco knows everybody, he has like the date book of everything, is that, well, he always runs a poker game, on whatever it was, Thursday nights in his own like house in like the back garage or whatever. So we can, do that there. And then we are cut to Smecker getting called to another crime scene.
Yes, and this is the hitman's house. This is a crime scene. There's blood everywhere. And when he starts giving his theory of what has happened, he's literally following the brothers and Rocco as they go to each step. He says, okay, they waited in the van until the son left. So the son rides his bike and they know that he leaves the garage unlocked so that when he comes back, he can get in the garage. So they entered through the garage. Of course, they went for the wife because she's the only one that knows. There's like a building in the back. It's kind of like his man cave and it's locked. Yeah. That's where he has the poker games with all the mafia guys. And she's the only one that knows the code besides him, of course, the hitman guy. So they force the wife to give him the code and then they knock her out with a taser so that she doesn't get hurt. And then once they open the door, it's just consistent shooting the whole time. I don't know how many guys they've killed. It was like 9-10 guys.
Yeah.
There was guys playing pool, some guys sitting at the table, and we're just seeing all the shooting going on. And then they cut to the bathroom, and the hitman guy is taking a dump. This is going on. And he's like, okay. He's super calm, doesn't do anything. He just like grabs his toilet paper, does his thing, picks up his pants. Okay. And then he takes the towel off the towel bar, folds the towel, puts it by the sink, grabs the towel bar off of the wall. And then we cut to Rocco and the brothers, and Rocco's like, shit, he's not here. He's not he's not here. And as he's yelling that, his back is to the bathroom door, and Connor or Murphy, I think it's Murphy, sees that the door's open, and he goes, look behind you. And he goes and he sees it's the guy, and Rocco goes and shoots him. I think he shoots him in the stomach is where it looks like. And then the guy hits him with the towel bar with his hand. And he's like, ah, and then he pushes him out of the bathroom. And the two of them are fighting now. He gets the gun out of the guy's hand, out of Rocco's hand. And he's on top of Rocco and he's strangling him. And of course, Murphy wants to help Rocco. And Connor's like, no, you're not helping him. He needs to learn how to do this himself. He's like, you got this, Rocco. And he's like cheering him on as he's literally getting strangled. Yeah. And then at that moment, he's like, great, you got this. I'm so proud. And as they're watching, one of the guys didn't die. He pops up and Connor turns to shoot him, dead. And in the meantime, Murphy grabs a pool ball and he like rolls it to Rocco. And Rocco grabs a pool ball and then he hits the guy in the head, which knocks him over. And then he beats him to death with the pool ball. So he's dead. And then they go to leave. They go out the front door because everybody's either dead or knocked out. The son is not back yet, so he's safe. And they're met with somebody.
Yeah. So we see the Duke standing outside waiting for them. So they're all standing on the porch and they see him right out by the car or the van. And when they show him that he has a trench coat on and he literally has a vest that has 6 gun holsters on it with 6 guns strapped to him. And they basically just have a shootout. And unfortunately, Rocco gets his finger shot off, and he's not very much help in the shootout. And then it's basically between the Duke and the 2 brothers. And after some time, the brothers get a good shot at him, and then he gets hit, I think, in like the arm or like the shoulder or something like that. And then one of the brothers gets shot in the leg, the other brother gets shot in the arm.
The arm, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, so then that they kind of simmer for now, and then we cut back to Smecker being back at the crime scene.
He's explaining, he basically says that when they walked out, there were 6 guys waiting for the brothers and Rocco. And then he says one of his most famous lines, if not the most famous lines, he says, there was a firefight! And then they have the whole like fire. the Duke is grabbing a gun, he's shooting him, then he grabs clicks out the clips, then grabs the next set of guns, shoots them and everything, and they kind of show that. After the Duke kind of leaves because he's been shot, their brothers are like, oh my God, what the hell was that? Oh my God. And they're like, get the blood, because they were hit. So their blood's on like a lot of the front part of it. So they're spraying it with ammonia to like make the samples not viable for, any kind of DNA or anything. And they take off and they're like, what the hell was that, Rocco? What the hell was that? And he's like, I don't know who that was. And they're like, we don't know. Thought you knew. He's like, I don't know who it was. We don't know. So this is a mystery man. And this is when Greenlee says to Smecker, sure it wasn't one guy with 6 guns? And he's like, he says, why do you let me do the thinking genius or something like that? When
the one time he was right.
He was 100% right. It was one man with 6 guns, which we'll come back to later. Smecker is like, okay, we're just waiting on this blood, and he's like, what's taking so long with the blood? And then the forensic person says, can't use it. And he smells it and he's like, it's ammonia. They sprayed it with ammonia. So all of this is useless. We can't use this in court. Even if we catch the guys red-handed, we cannot use this in court to prove that they were here. And he is like throwing a fit. His hair's like all over the place.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's very disheveled.
He's sweating. He's like just crazy. And he's like stomping and throwing a fit. And he's in the bushes and he's like throwing things. And then he sees the finger and he quiets down. He grabs a finger and he like wraps it in like a handkerchief or something and throws it in his pocket. And then he gets up and he's like,
yeah,
like gathers himself. And then, that's the scene. But yeah, that scene is just something else.
I just love how gradually, like the more stuff that goes on, like the more disheveled he gets, because he's so prim and proper when he shows up to a scene, like no matter what time of day it is. And in that scene you could just see like the more chaotic he gets because he's nowhere closer to solving this case and he hates unsolved cases. So I love that little connection.
Yeah, so they show the brothers and Rocco, they're watching TV after they have taken care of their wounds. You see like a montage of them like getting the bullets out and burning the like holes and burning Rocco's the end of his finger where it was shot off, that kind of stuff. So they're watching, and of course Agent Smecker's on the TV, and the brothers are like, he's really smart, he's gonna eventually find out it's us, he's gonna know it's us because he's really smart. And Rocco's like, well, he's a liability, we need to kill him. And both the brothers are like, absolutely not, he is a good person,
what are we talking about?
Not to be touched. We're serious, Rocco. And Rocco's like, fine. So because Smecker has the finger, he goes and he fingerprints it. Up pops Rocco's, of course, because he's been arrested before. And he's like, no, this is wrong, because he was expecting the brothers to pop out. And then he remembers in the very beginning when he let Rocco in while he was carrying the brothers' clothes. And he's like, I missed it. And so he is pissed that he missed something, and he goes to a gay bar and drinks, basically
drinks himself silly.
Yep. And then the next day the brothers are off to church. Rocco drops him off at church. Nope, they will not miss church. Rocco's like, fine, I'll come pick you up in a little bit. He's walking around, he sees Smecker come out of the bar, stumbling, completely drunk, doesn't know what he's doing,
like face planning bad.
Falling over. He goes into a church, but it's not like the same church. Like it's like an empty church. It looks like it's kind of like stairs go down and you go in, and he heads into the confessional. He like falls asleep or passes out in the confessional, and Rocco's like, oh great, this is great for me to kill him because he's a liability. So he grabs a priest and like forces him by gunpoint to go into the confession, and he's getting ready to, he's going to shoot him. And Smecker finally wakes up and he's like, and he's like, when was your last confession? He's like, never. And then of course he's kind of going back and forth with Smecker, the priest. Then we see somebody cutting a hole on the other side, and it's cutting a hole on the other side.
So it's Connor. Yes.
Yes,
So
Connor.
I get the boys confused, sorry. So it's Connor, and he's like, as he's getting the threads out from the confessional booth, he's grabbing Rocco's hair and basically like, "Are you effing kidding me right now? Like, what are we doing?" And he said, do not even like touch a hair on Smecker. Like, he is for us. Like, we told you, we warned you, basically." And then while this is happening, Smecker wakes up and they're having like the conversation, like, "Oh, like, what, what are you here for?" And Smecker starts the confessional about like, "Oh, well, I was, working with these two brothers and I know like what they're doing. Like, I agree with what they're doing. I think because in a world of so much corruption, like they are, freeing the world of that at some point. But like I want to understand, basically like I need to understand what's going on, and like I'm for what's going on." And that just kind of fully helps Rocco be like, "Okay, well maybe, yeah, maybe I should have, listened to them at first, because he is for them, but he's also still in law enforcement."
Yeah. And he's like, I want to help them, but I know the law will not allow me to do that.
Exactly.
And he takes the priest to say and all this stuff, and he takes it as the priest is telling me it's okay to help these guys. And he goes, all right, I'll do it. I'll help the brothers, I'll help the boys. And then he leaves and he's like, okay, I'm gonna help the boys. And of course, Connor's like, what are you doing, Rocco? I should shoot you right here. And he's like, you're not gonna shoot me. You love me. So they're like, don't ever do that again. Don't ever cross us again. And the brothers end up calling Smecker to let him know, hey, this is what happened at the hitman's house. This is the guy they're talking about, the Duke, Il Duce. He goes, do you know who he is? And he's like, nope, I don't know who he is. We don't know who he is. And he's like, okay. And they say, we're hitting Papa Joe's house tonight. We're going to take care of this. And then we're heading to New York because there's too much heat on us here. And he's like, okay, when will I talk to you guys next? He's like, we'll call you. Don't worry. And he's like, okay. So now we're going to the final showdown.
Yeah. So the first encounter we see is that Smecker is now talking to Augustus, who is the guy that was talking to the main mob boss about calling Il Duke and everything, and just kind of saying like, again, like, you only call him if you want to kill one of your own or if you need something really done. So Smecker's talking to Augustus, and while he's talking to Augustus is literally just throwing urinal cakes. Yes. Like, just like blindly, but they're going in the urinals, which I think is so funny. And he's talking to them basically about the Duke and then about Rocco as well. And what, from Smecker's understanding, Augustus is like, well, Rocco is the guy that was killing all of the mafia members, and he's very dangerous, and, and Smecker obviously knows that it's not him who's dangerous, but he's playing along with it. And he wants to learn a little bit more about the Duke, and again, just kind of exactly what it is. Like, he's going to get the job done. He's always going to be looking for somebody to kill at the end, whether it's the target that they wanted to or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is also when Smecker goes, so it was one guy with 6 guns. Poor Greenlee's finally right.
Yeah. And he's not even around to hear it, so.
Right, yeah. So I thought that was like a cute little throw in there. Yeah. So from talking to Augustus, he knows that, Papa Joe's ready for these guys. So he knows that the brothers are in trouble. So he's like, shit, I got to get there. And then we just cut to Papa Joe's house, and the brothers have already been caught. Papa Joe comes in. They're like, we've got him in the basement, all 3 of them. He's like, great. Goes in the basement. All 3 of them are tied to, handcuffed to chairs. Their legs are handcuffed to the chairs as well. They're questioning Rocco mostly and beating him up and trying to get answers. And he's like, fuck you. I'm not going to tell you anything. And so Papa Joe grabs his hand and he shoots like the rest of his fingers off the one hand. And of course, Connor's like, look at me, Rocco, look at me. You're okay, when he does it, because he knows what he's going to do. Yeah. And when Papa Joe gets out of he leaves the basement area where the guys are, and he asks his other goons, what do you think? And they're like, it's definitely not Rocco. He's not smart enough. It's the other 2 guys for sure. And he's like, well, there's only one way to find out. And this is when he comes back in. Connor knows exactly what's going to happen, and Murphy, and he screams, oh God, no. And they shoot Rocco. Papa Joe shoots Rocco right in the chest. So
sad.
He falls over. He's bleeding out, and Papa Joe leaves, just Rocco to bleed out, doesn't do anything to the other 2 brothers, basically tells the guys to finish him later or whatever. And the brothers knock their chairs over. Connor's like, look at me. He's like, you're gonna be okay. Of course he's not gonna be okay. And they're very upset. The brothers are crying. Rocco says, you can't ever stop, and you need to get out of here. And then he he dies. So they're like, it was very sad. It was very sad, yes. And so the brothers, of course, are like crying and screaming. And then we see them getting themselves out of the handcuffs. Connor kicks Murphy's hand to break his thumb so that he can get out of the handcuffs. They mean business. So we see them trying to get out. And then it cuts to upstairs. That's when Papa Joe's like, I'm leaving. You guys take care of the two guys in the basement. We're done with this. It's they're like, well, what about El Duce? He's like, oh, I'm not worried about him. Whatever. You guys can handle him. Whatever. He's going to be after the brothers anyways. Who cares? And he leaves. Yeah. And the doorbell rings.
Yeah. So for the Duke as well, like when they were talking about him, and of course all the other guys are worried about him, the mob boss is literally like, well, he's probably already in the bushes, so I'm going to go out there, I'm going to go check, and then I'm going to get the hell out of here. And so the boys are on lockdown in the house, and when that doorbell rings, we see the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. It's Willem Dafoe dressed as a woman. Let me tell you, he is stunning. Like, that wig is working for him. His body is just absolutely breathtaking. I love Willem Dafoe. So Smecker's dressed as a prostitute. He basically... definitely the weakest mafia man. Like, he is just like a nerdy little guy. Well, I guess not little, but And he literally opens the door and is like, this is absolutely, like, there's some weird shit going on here. It's basically hellfire in there. Like, any other time, this would be great. And Smecker is not taking no for an answer, and he just, like, touches his face and then, like, starts making out with him. And then, like, basically, like, biting his lip. And the guy's like, all right, yeah, come on in. Like, yeah, let's do this thing. And then basically just like escorts, him to the bathroom, and another guy's like in the hallway like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, come on, man, like I haven't gotten anything in like years or whatever. And he's like, fine, whatever. And so then they just go to the bathroom and they're about to start, and then you just see Smecker's wig like start to slide, and the mafia guy's like, oh, what the hell? And then of course Smecker's trained and armed and dangerous, obviously, so he kicks him in the nuts, and then he's like back on, and then he shoots him. And after he kills the mafia guy, like Smecker all disheveled because he has his little wig cap on, and he's like fixing his skirt and stuff, and he's like, all right, it's on now, and he gets his gun, and he's on a mission.
Yeah, so after he gets his wig back on, he shoots the mafia guy. That the one guy's like, where are you going? And he's like, oh, I'm just going to the bathroom real quick. And he's like, hey baby, you want another one? And then Schmecker just shoots him. And then he goes to another person, and now remember, he's still got his wig on, he still looks female, and he notices one of the other guys is on a chair and his throat is slit, and he's like, what the hell? And then we see someone from behind knock him out, and it was the Duke, because his rule is no women, no children. So luckily for Smecker, he was dressed as a woman, so he just got knocked out. And then we see the brothers downstairs have gotten free, and they are over Rocco's body. They've got the coins, and they're saying the family prayer, because Rocco did want to learn the prayer, and he says, you can't, only family members know this prayer. It's my father's father came up with this prayer, so this has been passed on only to the family. So as the brothers are kneeling down at Rocco's, body, and they're saying the family prayer, Il Duce comes in, and he's ready to shoot them in the back of the head. And then he hears the prayer, puts the guns down. The boys hear someone behind them, so they turn around and they point their guns at the Duke, and he finishes the prayer, the family prayer. And he walks up to the brothers, and it's basically, the shot is kind of like when you're given communion, and it's like the bread, and they're kneeling, and he's basically puts his hand on their faces, and it's like, here, I'm here, and then it just cuts out, and then it says 3 months later.
So after the 3 months later, so Papa Joe is on trial for all of the murders he's committed, but the problem is that the jury, maybe is not so buying that he's a bad guy, because he's so charismatic up on the stand. Like, he is like talking about, well, obviously I wasn't there because that Thursday night because I was with my mom and she was making gnocchi, and like the mom's standing up and like blowing him kisses and waving, and he's just, and that he's like, he has not a care in the world. Like, he knows that he's not going to prison, or if he's going to prison, like, he's not going for a very long time. Just like that corruption that we were mentioning earlier too. you cut to also like a lot of like the news people that are covering the story too, like, oh, this guy's gonna walk, like this guy, they love him. And then we cut to Smecker swiping in his card, which kind of gives Greenlee the go or whatever to wave the boys into the courthouse, and not only the boys but also the Duke, and like they're throwing over the weapons to the metal detector. I love that they're still going through the metal detector even though they can literally walk around it. It's like,
yeah,
they gotta go back and get a shitload of dimes. Like that's like you literally have all this space to walk around. The people know. The people that know will know. But if they don't, then they're missing out.
Right.
So they then eventually bust into the courtroom and they just grab Papa Joe, put him down on his knees, and then point the gun to his head.
Yes. So they tell everybody in the courtroom. I'm gonna read because what they say it's really good. So we all know that the Duke is the dad. Okay, that's not a spoiler alert. It's Connor and Murphy's father. So, he tells everybody, you people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. And then we see like a girl, like a younger woman that has her eyes down. He's like, you must watch, dear. It'll be over very soon. And then this is, we see one of the other detectives, he pulls the fire alarm. And then we see Connor and Murphy jump up on the tables and they take turns saying stuff. Connor jumps on the benches and he says, now you will receive us. Murphy says, we do not ask for your poor or your hungry. Connor says, we do not want your tired and your sick. Murphy, it is your corrupt we claim. Connor, it is your evil that will be sought by us. Murphy, with every breath we shall hunt them down. Connor, every day we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies. Murphy, do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace. Connor, these are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior, and those of you who ignore them will pay the dearest cost. Murphy, there are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain. And then this is kind of, we see Smecker kind of looking in just awe of these guys. And then Connor says, but if you do, one day you will look behind you and see we three, and on that day you will reap it. And then Murphy says, and we will send you to whatever God you wish. And then they jump down. All three of them point their guns at Papa Joe's head, and they all say, and shepherds we will be for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand, that our feet may swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow a river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be. And then they ended in the Latin prayer, which I don't know what they say in Latin. And then they shoot Papa Joe in the head, and everyone runs out of the courthouse, and the press is waiting to hear what they have to say, and and then everybody's like, oh, really excited to talk. And then it cuts to the three saints.
Yeah, and Connor asks, like, oh, well, how far are we going to take this, Dad? Like, are we on a good time, bad time, long time? What are we planning on? And Dad is just saying, like, the question is not how far, but the question is, do you possess the constitution, the depth of fate to go as far as needed? And then it cuts to, like, a video. It always cuts to, like, the same news reporter, like Sally McBride or whatever her name is.
Yeah, right.
Some Irish name. Yeah. And she's basically talking about that this is, like, the biggest manhunt, and, like, there's all of these bad people getting off of the streets. And then it cuts to almost like walk-up video interviews with different people that you would literally walk up to in a park, and they're basically like, well, what do you think of this? And most of the people are like, well, I think it's a great thing. And then when they're with another person, they're like, are you kidding me? Like, they're still killing people. But then, then they talk to another person like, oh, well, they're getting the bad guys off the streets, and I feel like this is a safer city. And like, there's still those controversy because, of course, like, is it right to kill people? Absolutely not. But, it's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So that's kind of where it ends.
Yeah. It ends with, like, people deciding, basically like a Robin Hood. Is it okay to, steal from the rich to give to the poor? So
exactly.
Yeah. So that is the movie. I do have some. Here it is. Okay. I was like, I had the budget somewhere. I'm looking for the budget. So quickly, we're going to go through the budget and some facts, and then we've got some new categories that we want to try out on you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So the budget was $6 million. Now, it only made, in its opening weekend, $19,930 and grossed worldwide $45,325. Now, there's a reason for this. So, it was only shown in 5 theaters for 1 week only. That's it. This movie came out just a few months after the whole Columbine high school shooting. So they thought that this was very distasteful to like give a full major release. Like it was just too insensitive because guys literally going in just shooting people that they think is bad. So they were like, so that kind of killed the movie. And critics, of course, panned it. They were like, this is awful. And fortunately, it was actual people watching it loved it. So the DVD sales alone, as well as like they had other theatrical releases, like, oh, we're going to show, the Saints tonight or whatever, ended up making over $260 million from just word of mouth, DVD sales. And just, it was literally the people. That's why it became a cult classic, because the people are who made it a well-known movie. They did make a sequel in 2009. I don't recommend it. They are making another one.
I hate when they do that. I'm sorry.
So this is the problem I have when they make these sequels like 20 something years later.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for everybody. And I'm not trying to rip on anybody, like anybody's looks or anything. I'm 47 years old. I do not look like I did when I was in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely way better looking in my 20s. Just as Sean Patrick Flannery and Norman Reedus were way better looking in their 20s. So even in the 2009 film, that doesn't even look like Sean Patrick Flannery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know, and
yeah,
now we're going another 15 years later, 16 years later, and we expect, it's not the same. And the second one didn't even have Willem Dafoe in it, so don't even bother. Like, it just...
So true.
Yeah, it's just...
The only sequel I'm excited for 30 years later is Constantine. So, yes. And that's only because they brought back Peter Stormare and they brought back Keanu Reeves.
They have to bring back the important characters. Yeah. I feel like that's super important. So couple I'm gonna say facts because they're not really, some of them are not fun.
Not fun, but
I do have one quick one. So Rocco likes to swear a lot in this. And there's a scene where he uses the word fuck in every single like noun, verb, literally everything. In the movie, it's said 246 times. That's how many times they say that word.
Perfect.
Still not as much as they did in Deadwood, though. And I got a lot of this information off of IMDb as well as mentalfloss.com. They have some really good tips, or not tips.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what I mean?
Tips and tricks? No,
just tips and tricks. No, just like fun tips on, or, fun facts on movies and stuff like that. Yeah. So Troy Duffy, who was the writer and director, was a bartender in LA when he wrote the script, never wrote anything before in his life. It was inspired by events he witnessed, including seeing a drug dealer steal from a dead body. So he kind of wrote this. So Sir Billy Connolly, who played Il Duce, was having such a fun time playing Il Duce that they had to give him a cigar because he kept smiling. Like he just was so happy. When he's shooting,
cigar in like every scene. Yeah.
Yes. So he has a cigar to keep his mouth from smiling.
Perfect.
The tattoos on the brothers' hands are Latin. O'Connor's stands for truth, and Murphy's stands for justice equality. The script was originally picked up by Miramax, which at the time was Harvey Weinstein.
Okay, anyways.
Cue the barf.
Right.
They offered him $300,000 for the script and to buy the bar that he worked in for him. And Duffy has an attitude problem, apparently. And Ewan McGregor was one of the actors that they were going to cast as one of the two brothers. And he got into a fight with him over the death penalty when they were just meeting. It's like, okay, why are you talking this kind of stuff? Like, you're just talking about the film. Yeah. So they got into a fight. So Ewan McGregor was like, I'm out. And of course, he didn't want anything changed in his script. He didn't want anything changed. And I get it. But, Miramax is like, look, we're in charge here. And so he's like, basically like, screw you guys. So they're like, we're out. So then a smaller company ended up buying the script for much less. And the character of Rocco is actually named, okay, so his full name in the movie is David Della Rocco. That is actually the name of someone he knows, which is that actor. That role was written for him to play. So he must be a friend of Duffy's. So none of the Catholic churches would let them film inside a Catholic church because of the the subject matter. A Lutheran church said, sure, come on in. And so they filmed it in there. And the Archdiocese of Toronto actually wrote to Duffy and said, obviously, you're not going to go into any of our Catholic churches. And he also called him the spawn of Satan. So in the letter, Duffy was called the spawn of Satan by the Archdiocese of Toronto. Yeah, great. Brad Pitt, Keanu Reeves, and Ethan Hawke were all considered for the roles of the brothers.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I love him.
I know. I do feel like he made the right decision because I feel like they were perfectly cast. I love them both. They're both very so I have the DVD to this. And DVDs used to always have like the special disc that has deleted scenes. And there's one scene that they deleted that I really wish they would have kept in, and I'm sure it was because of budget they couldn't keep it in. It is a phone call with their mother. The mother calls the twins. And she lives in Ireland, and she calls the brothers, and she's like, I can't take it anymore. This world is not for me anymore. I'm going to do it. I'm going to kill myself. You know, I'm going to shoot myself. They're like, Ma, don't do it, Ma. And all they keep saying is, Ma, no, we love you, Ma. We love you, Ma. And she's like, I can't take it anymore. And they show her like talking on the phone with the long cord. You know, like from the 90s, we had the long cords. And she's making some kind of soup, and another lady's peeling potatoes. And she's like, I can't take it, boys. And she's drinking Irish whiskey out of the bottle. And she like opens the door. She opens the door and she shoots the gun outside. And they're like, Ma, Ma, are you okay, Ma? And then she's like, she starts laughing. And she's like, you pussies. Like, Ma, you okay, Ma, you okay? And, you know, she's just telling them how she's just giving them shit of how they were both inside of her at the same time because they're twins, and how they ruined her girlish figure. And both the brothers want to know, Mom, it's been 27 years. We want to know which one of us came out first. Who's the older brother? And she says, fine, boys, fine. I'll let you know. It's about time. They're like, okay, they're both like on the, like both ears are on the phone, and they really want to know. And she starts laughing. She goes, the one with the bigger cock. And she hangs up.
Oh, no.
Now, this scene happened just after the meatpacking incident when Sean Patrick Flannery Connor's character got kicked in the nuts by the big woman. Mm-hmm. And so he has ice on his junk the whole time, you know, and he gets up, and of course they're naked because they're brothers and they walk around naked in their apartment or their whatever room it is. And Murphy looks at him and he goes, I just had ice on it for like 30 minutes. Yeah. I do feel that Connor is the older brother. He has more tendencies of the older brother. So I do feel that he would probably be the older brother if I had to put some money on it. Yeah, that I think that's a really funny, just to give the, you know, like the mom,
the vibe of the whole family.
Yeah, because the dad's been in jail for 25 to 30 years, you know, right. So they're still married. She still has the wedding ring on. But yeah, I thought that was really cute. So, all right, so we have added some new categories that we're going to go through. We might change these categories because they might not work for us, but we just came up with some fun things to try it out. So our first category will be, how do you make this into a Hallmark Christmas movie?
This has to be some type of Die Hard scenario, but some people don't even consider Die Hard a Christmas movie. I am one of those people, I feel like it is a Christmas movie because it happens during Christmas time. Yeah. So there would have to be some snow on the ground, right? There would have to be some, like, you know, when they're walking like downtown, there'd have to be some, you know, trees in the windows and all that fun stuff. Somebody would have to fall in love too. There would have to be a love interest, right, for a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I have. Okay, this is what I put. Okay, you have some thought to this. Okay.
You did put some thought into this.
I did.
I did a whole pad of notes.
Okay, like 5 minutes of thought into this. Okay. So it's these twin girls, and they're each dating a guy. And these guys are from, you know, different areas. And when they meet, you know, they kind of like fight like brothers. So it's Connor and Murphy, but they don't know they're brothers until their crazy uncle, Paul Schmecker, comes that they've never heard of and lets them know that you guys were adopted. You're actually twins as well. So it's like a twin wedding during Christmas. It's a Christmas miracle that they were able to find their real, like, family, like their real parentage.
Alternate ending.
Yeah. Yes. And that's what I came up with.
Was that also a deleted scene on the disc?
No, but that would have Willem Dafoe playing his character with his three-piece suits, and yes, yelling "There's a firefight," or like "There's a Christmas miracle" instead, or something like that.
Yeah.
So that was what I.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's just what I came. I like just.
She's like, actually, I've been thinking about that for 5 years.
Actually, I wrote a script.
Right.
I wrote a script. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So next category is who's the biggest douche canoe in the film? I have mine. Mine is Vincenzo.
Okay, mine is also gonna be Vincenzo. I was like, there's so much, but it's just like he's just gross. Like the way that he like treats the women, but also he treats Rocco and talks down on everybody. He definitely takes the cake, I think, in my opinion too.
Yeah, he's the one that even though he had like 2 minutes of screen time or 5 minutes of screen time total, he just really gave me such a I don't like when people are like adults are mean to other adults for no freaking reason. Like if you have beef with each other because you're going back and forth because you hate each other, that's fine. But when you're just picking on someone that can't fight back because he's just a delivery guy, that really like grinds my gears. So I did not like that.
Yeah,
so
nobody made me cringe more than Vincenzo in this movie. Because like I know Papa Joe, like he is also not great, right? Especially towards the end when he just like is acting like he's the shit.
Yeah.
But Vincenzo definitely takes that cake.
But I feel like Papa Joe can be that way because he is the boss. Right. So he can be that.
He kind of is the shit.
Automatically should be like a dick because he runs it. So congratulations, Ron Jeremy, aka Vincenzo, for getting the first ever biggest douche canoe award.
Wah wah.
Yeah. Next category. What would one of the characters' dating profiles look like?
Okay, so the first person that pops in my head is Greenlee. And I think Greenlee would be like that guy on Tinder that's like holding the fish in every single picture. Like holding like a progressively like larger fish that he caught. Yes. Does that not seem like that would be his personality on Tinder?
Yeah, he'd be like 35-year-old white male.
Yeah. Seeking woman, 120 pounds. Like, like
blonde hair,
blue eyes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like, no baby daddies. Like, he would definitely be putting that kind of stuff on his profile. But every picture would be with him and a fish.
Yes. Or it should be him getting coffee every single time with Smecker being like...
With my onion bagel for Smecker.
Yeah. So I tried to tackle Willem Dafoe's character in this one. I tried. Okay.
Yes.
So I've got it would be something like 35-year-old straight white male looking for a male companion who understands the intricacies of police work. No gay men need apply. Because he's so
but I also think
he will not admit that he's gay.
Weird. Yes, but I also feel like he would put like his astrology sign in there.
Yes.
And then just and his coffee order.
Yes.
Which cafe latte with a twist of lemon? Blech.
Yes. No, thank you.
Sorry. I do not like fruity coffee. Like,
Yeah, the lemon would, Speaking of coffee orders, what would somebody's coffee order be? And you cannot do Schmecker's because we already have his.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking a lot of this. Like, I think that Rocco would get, like, a venti mocha cookie crumble frappe from Starbucks. Like, anything that would remotely embody, like, the chocolate shake of any kind. Like, I feel like he would get something like that.
Okay. I went with Rocco as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got him getting Connor and Murphy's, which would be a black coffee.
Yes,
Connor and Murphy would just be straight up black coffee. The darkest coffee, just the like most caffeine possible, straight up, no taste. Okay. But he's gonna get a hot drink.
Okay.
Because if he gets a cold drink, then it's gonna show what's in it. Now he's gonna say he's getting a coffee. He's gonna be doing like those orders that's like a black coffee and it says like creme brulee latte,
6 pumps of vanilla, 7 pumps of...
So he's going to get a hot vanilla latte with no foam but extra whipped cream. And it's going to be in the same cup as a coffee cup so that the brothers can't tell what it is. So that he can be like, I got a black coffee too. But he wants that sweet, sweet vanilla with the
and it has
whipped cream.
It has like 6 pumps of brown sugar, 6 pumps of... Or 6 caramel drizzle. Like...
Drizzle, yeah. This is very like, yes, very sweet.
For sure.
And then the other one is, do I or you have anything, something that was depicted in this movie? I did. I had a Discman. And I had the one that you can hook up to the car through the lighter. And I would put it on the center console, and anytime you hit a bump, it would skip, which was often because I had a really, really old car that I drove for like 4 seconds until it died. Yeah, and it was so crazy. It would plug into the lighter, and that's how and I'd put it had like this little thing that would go on it that would help with the shock, but it did nothing. So yeah, so I had the Discman.
I don't think I had anything
Yeah,
from
I
that
didn't. I
movie.
figured like this is more my category. Like, what's a
Yeah.
Gen X thing that they don't have anymore that that I had in this, and that's what I had.
Mm.
And finally, what is the best line of the movie?
Okay, I could not narrow this down to just one. I know we already talked about one earlier, so I'm not going to repeat that one, like when they're in the holding, or not the holding cell, but when they're in the confessional, whatever, the discussion room in the beginning. Yeah. But one of my favorites is from the bartender from the very beginning of the movie, the one with Tourette's. He literally tells the Russian mafia, "Why don't you make like a tree and get the fuck out?"
His proverbs, yeah. And Rocco says, "I need to
they're
get
like,
you a
we
book
need to
on
get you a
proverbs."
Bible because your proverbs are thrown off. Him like,
I
but then the
remember
boys
Murphy.
are literally just like, we need to get you a Bible because you have no idea what you're talking about.
You need a proverb book, yeah, because he gets it. He's basically like Biff from Back to the Future when he's like, "Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?" And they're like, "It's leave,
They're
dummy.
like,
It's
what are we
leave." Like
talking
he
about?
never says it right.
Yeah.
Of course, my favorite line is there was a firefight.
Yeah. For a
That is
few
my
seconds, this place was Armageddon. There was a firefight.
Firefight. Yes, that is my favorite.
Yeah, I also have another couple because I love when he's standing on the couch and Smecker's standing on the couch and the boys are like trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and he's like, that was almost so good that it makes me feel like river dancing, and then he just starts like doing his little Irish jig. Or we didn't talk about it, but when they're like sitting out at the round table, and this is before Rocco ends up killing the people at the deli.
Mm-hmm.
When they're getting like absolutely trashed and they accidentally shoot the cat.
Yeah.
The girlfriend's like this druggy, like she hasn't been home in weeks, and like the Rocco's basically the only one that takes care of the cat, and he accidentally shoots him because he like bangs on the table and then makes the gun go off, and then poor cat. It's so sad. I always cry during that part. And like, and Murphy's like, I can't believe that just happened. And then Rocco goes, "Is it dead?" Like it's literally like it's bad.
It's
like
on
it's really
the wall.
splattered on the wall.
This cat did not survive.
No, right. And then the last one I'm sorry, I know I have like a billion.
No.
But the last one I have is when Rocco was just having like a fun time, like where they were like, oh, gun A and gun B, and then like they had switched or whatever. So then Smecker's going here, but then also here, and then Rocco goes like Wyatt fucking Earp. And then when Smecker's doing it, like a scene later, he's like, looks like we got us a cowboy.
Yes.
So I love when those like coincide. I just love how like the play is. I don't know. It's just something in my brain.
Yes. All right. Cool. So those are going to be our new categories. We might add and subtract some. Tell us if you like the categories. If you're like, that's not for us. We're going to try to spend less time explaining the movie and more time on categories and just more fun stuff about the movie. Next week, we've decided on our movie for next week. We're gonna stick with a more happier, lighthearted, and fun movie.
The last two movies we have done have been so depressing that we need to move on to something a little lighter.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Yes. So what are we doing?
We are doing Earth Girls Are Easy.
Which has Gina Davis and, of course, oh my God, what's
Jeff Goldblum or no?
Jeff Goldblum.
I was like, wait, am I actually stupid? I couldn't think of it.
No, I'm actually stupid because I'm like literally one of my favorite actors, and he's in Wicked. I've seen him on the TV 7,000 times the last month. Jeff Goldblum.
So good.
Also, is Jim Carrey in there?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're about to visit some amazing.
Yeah, we're gonna visit a more happier setting this time. But yeah, so we want to thank you guys for joining us again for another episode of Butterscotch Rewatch. I am Katie, the Gen X mom.
And I'm Ireland, the Gen Z daughter.
And we will catch you guys next time.
Bye!